Hey yo, football fans, it's another great year. Fantasy football fiends, grab your beer. Giving you the best draft tips for all your picks. Starts and sits to the waiver wire fix. From mock drafts galore to stats that's hardcore. Triple F does it all, have y'all screaming more. So sit back, relax, let the experts prevail. JT Magnum, Siggy Guns never fail.
What's up, fantasy football fans? My name is JT Magnum here along with Siggy Guns, and welcome to week 5 of our Stardom and Sit 'em show. It's been a crazy week, especially last week. A lot of points. Matt Ryan, Julio Jones went off. There was a lot of players just pretty much just going off last week. A lot of high point score. Ben Roethlisberger. It was just nutty. It was craziness. But real quick, let's talk about DraftKings. Once again, I do not make money off of DraftKings, so if you want to join our league, feel free to join our league. I don't steal money from you, so you're always welcome to join our contest. You're welcome to create contests and play amongst yourselves. That's all it's there for. It's just for fun, interaction, and having fun with our subs. As for everything else, if you want sleepers and waivers, that's on the website. The waiver wire picks, I already did the video yesterday for that, so that should be up on YouTube. You probably have already watched that and put in your waiver claims. And that's it. So Siggy, let's get into this. Who's your 3 starts at quarterback this week?
I have Carson Wentz, Phillip Rivers, and Derek Carr. Now I'm going to talk about Rivers, and I guess with Carr, San Diego and Oakland. I mean, these two teams, they just love to give up a lot of points, and both quarterbacks should do very, very well. So if there's a game where you need to pick some players out of, whether it's DraftKings or your fantasy, etc., San Diego and Oakland, that game is the game of the week for fantasy.
Oh, yeah, that'll be you know what? Sometimes it's weird because you think it's going to be a low-scoring game, too, and there's these high-scoring games. Then you think it's going to be a high-scoring game, and it ends up a low-scoring game, a la Chicago-Detroit last week. But my 3 quarterbacks are Trevor Siemian with an asterisk. I'll talk about that in a second. Eli Manning and Derek Carr. Trevor Siemian, I'm putting an asterisk because he might be hurt. He might not, well, he is hurt, but he might not play. If he doesn't play, insert Paxton Lynch. I think he's just going to do just as well against Atlanta anyways at home. So even though he's a rookie, Atlanta's just giving up a lot of pass yards. But anyways, I'll talk about Manning going against Green Bay. Green Bay doesn't give up anything on the ground. They've been giving up a lot of pass yards, but nothing on the ground. And that's what the Giants specialize in passing the ball. They can run here and there, but like I said, Green Bay stopping the run so well that I think Eli Manning is going to have a field day. And he has had great games in the past against Green Bay, against that defense with wide receiver, given he had some wide receiver talent, and this year he definitely has that. So I like Eli Manning this week to put up some points unlike last week. Who's your running backs?
Melvin Gordon, Jordan Howard, and Jerick McKinnon. I'll go ahead and talk about Howard. He's been running very well for Chicago. I know he's a rookie, but Indianapolis has just been terrible this season. I don't know what's going on with their defense. It's just even worse than anything else. And I think Howard is going to be somebody that is going to rush a lot. And he showed signs of being able to catch a lot of passes, too. I think he has 6 catches for like 50-something yards. I forgot what it was, but he's going to be the all-around back for Chicago.
Yeah, he's looking great in Jeremy Langford's place right now. And another backup basic I have for my 3 is Terrence West, DeMarco Murray, and Jerick McKinnon. And I'll talk about Terrence West. He's a starter now. He's the guy right now. Who knows if Kenneth Dixon will soon replace him? I don't know. But he did run well against Oakland, running for 113 yards. And now news, Justin Forsett has just been released. I saw that today as before we got on. And it's one of those kind of buyout things where they just agreed upon it, and Justin Forsett's been released. So now he's officially gone from the Ravens. So now Terrence West is officially the starter. So he's a guy that we talked about in waivers and sleepers a couple weeks, and now if you have him, insert him in because he's got a good matchup against the Redskins, who are giving up a lot of yardage on the ground as well. Who's your wide receivers?
Emmanuel Sanders, Michael Crabtree, and Travis Benjamin. I'm going to talk about Crabtree. Out of everybody in Oakland, who would have thought that Crabtree would be the one that's going to get all the red zone instead of Cooper? But apparently that's what is happening. He had 3 touchdowns from Carr. They're playing San Diego, which gives up a ton of points, like I alluded earlier. Crabtree to me is the one you want to start the most, even over Cooper.
Yeah, my 3 are Crabtree as well, Sterling Shepard, and Michael Floyd. And I'll talk about Michael Floyd, Thursday night game against 49ers. 49ers are minus their number 1 cornerback in Jimmy Ward. Tremaine Brock has struggled against the pass, and they have a rookie in Rashard Robinson out there. Who knows who's going to be on who, but Michael Floyd has historically had some pretty good games against against the 49ers. And even if Carson Palmer doesn't play, Drew Stanton is not afraid to air it out, especially at the deep ball, because Bruce Arians isn't scared to call the deep ball, isn't scared to throw it a ton, even though his starting quarterbacks are not there. So look for Michael Floyd to actually get over 100 yards in this game and maybe a touchdown or two, especially with San Francisco's defense really, really struggling at this moment. Who's your tight ends?
Got Jesse James, Hunter Henry, and Zach Miller. And I'm going to talk about Zach Miller. Another surprise. He's been doing very, very well. And even without, what's his name, Cutler, he's been getting a lot of red zone looks. And again, Indianapolis has just been horrible on defense. They can't stop anybody. And Zach Miller has been the focus of the offense in terms of the passing game. And he should have a very good game against Indianapolis.
Yeah, my three are Richard Rodgers, Zach Miller as well. We're thinking alike this week. And Dennis Pitta going against the Redskins. I'll talk about Pitta. Like I said, the Redskins are struggling. They're giving up a lot of points. They're giving up a lot of rushing yards. They're giving up some passing yards. Here and there, they're getting some turnovers, so that's kind of offsetting some of the things that they're doing. But at the same time, people are being able to move the ball. And in fantasy, you want to move the ball, get points like that. And Dennis Pitt is a guy that moves the chains. He's getting a lot more looks now from Flacco. And as Flacco gets more comfortable with him, and now that Steve Smith and Mike Wallace and those receivers are emerging, that leaves even more opportunities for Pitta to get more opportunities. So I like him this week. Who's your defensive starts?
I have Green Bay, LA, and Minnesota. And I'll go ahead and talk about Green Bay because you were talking about how great the Giants should do against that defense. I think the Vikings expose what you got to do to the Giants. They're not going to be afraid of any of the running backs anyways. Not that they can run against Green Bay anyways, but Darka, none of them are going to be able to do good against them. So it just means that you have to shut down Odell Beckham. And we saw what Minnesota was doing. Now, don't get me wrong, Minnesota's defense is great up and down, but all you have to do is just focus on him, it seems anyways, and everybody else falls apart. So I don't see Eli Manning doing anything against Green Bay, not on the road. And so I got a feeling the Giants are going to struggle for the second week in a row. They might get, a touchdown here and there like they might, but Green Bay doesn't usually, historically, at home, doesn't give up that many points.
Yeah, for my three, I got Tennessee, Philadelphia, and Cincinnati, and I'll talk about Tennessee. The reason why I have them in there is because they have a really good matchup against the Dolphins. Tennessee actually has not played, horrible defense. The thing is, their offense has been a little bit erratic, and despite them being able to run the ball really well, Marcus Mariota hasn't progressed, it seems like, as a quarterback this year in throwing the ball. Probably another reason is because their wide receivers just flat out suck this year, and they just don't have anybody to throw to. But their defense has done fairly well. Their defense, especially against the pass, has done fairly well, and that's what Miami's struggling with right now with Tannehill. And I see some turnovers from Tannehill, especially with Tennessee being able to stop that running game. So, and Miami not really having a running game to stop. So there you go, right there. I like Tennessee this week. So moving on to the sit-em portion of the show, who's your three sits at quarterback?
Tyrod Taylor, Brock Osweiler, and Matthew Stafford. Now I'm going to talk about Taylor. LA Rams, I would be, if you would have told me in the beginning of the year, after 4 games, that the Panthers are going to be 1-3 and the Rams are going to be 3-1, I would say, yeah, right. Yeah. But here we are, and I still don't believe in the LA Rams, but at home, they do have a very good defense. And I know Buffalo just shocked everybody against New England, but I do not see them going in there doing anything. So Tyrod Taylor is somebody I would sit. My
three are, we're going to really laugh at this one, Matt Ryan, Dak Prescott, and Matt Stafford. I'm going to talk about Matt Ryan. I had him as a sit last week, and I'm going to have him as a sit again. I really thought that Carolina would stop him. Who knew? I didn't know. I mean, every sports, you knew. I think you were the only person in the country that knew that. I mean, everybody pretty much had him as a sit. I mean, there may be minus a few people here and there, but everybody pretty much had him as a sit, even including me. And I would never thought that. But against Denver, they are historic for making quarterbacks look bad, and they've done it all year long this year as well. So I'm looking for him to finally, in Denver, especially if this was at home in Atlanta, I probably wouldn't sit him. But the fact that it's in Denver, I'm going to sit him this week. And especially if another thing is, Matt Ryan historically does bad on the road as well. So look for him to not get 500 yards passing this week, probably to get around 200 yards passing and maybe only 1 touchdown pass. So who's your sits at running back? Right?
Matt Forte, Matt Jones, and any Giants running back. I put all Giants running backs. It doesn't matter who it is. But I'll talk about Matt Jones. Matt Jones, he's been the guy for, Washington. He's been all right. I wouldn't necessarily say he's been really good. But against Baltimore, that's the one thing that they're really good at, stopping the run. And there's just not going to be a chance for him to do anything if you're forced to use him this week.
My three are Matt Jones as well, Latavius Murray, and Lamar Miller, actually, at Minnesota. And the reason why, at Minnesota is just, their defense is nasty. Their defense is really tough. And given the fact that they can stop anybody with the pass, you're not going to be able to pass on them. You're not going to be able to really run the ball on them. And especially at home in Minnesota, I think the Houston Texans are just going to struggle this week, like every team has been doing. And I don't see Lamar Miller being able to do next to anything. The only thing he might score in is a PPR, where he might get a few catches, but it ain't going to be for a lot of yards. So who's your wide receiver sits?
I got Mike Evans, Golden Tate, and DeAndre Hopkins, and I'll talk about him. You just talked about Minnesota's defense at home. They're going to go ahead and key on him. That's what happened last week. Hopkins got shut out with one reception only for him. They know that that's going to be the game plan. Shut him out, and Houston would struggle. Even though Houston did eke out a win, I think if anybody, Lamar Miller might be the guy that's going to get some catches out of the backfield, because that's of something, an element that they haven't necessarily been tested yet this year. So I would think Houston should revolve their offense around Lamar Miller this week. But Hopkins, he's going to be in for a long day. Rhodes has been looking really good.
The whole team, everybody there. The only one that hasn't is Trey Waynes, just because of his pass interference penalties. But even he's looking good with like 2 or 3 interceptions. But my three, DeAndre Hopkins as well. And it's hard to sit somebody like DeAndre Hopkins. Believe me, it's hard. But that Minnesota defense is tough. Terrell Pryor and Marvin Jones Jr., another guy that's been studying it out this year. And I'll talk about him. Going against that Eagles defense. The Eagles secondary is not the same Eagles secondary as it was last year. This team is a complete different defense under Jim Schwartz. It's playing tough, playing strong, and just, it's not even a bend but not break. They're just literally breaking people. And you saw in evidence with being able to hold Pittsburgh to 3 points. That offense is explosive. I know it was minus Le'Veon Bell, but at the same time, it's still an explosive offense with D'Angelo Williams and everybody else, and they were able to just shut them down completely. With that pass rush, with that line, being able, the way they rush the passer with just 4 linemen, they're just a tough team to be able to get off passes with. And I think Detroit's going to struggle this week. Who's your tight end sits?
Eric Ebron, Gary Barnidge, and Jacob Tamme. Now I'm going to talk about Barnidge. They're playing New England. Tom Brady is back. The blueprint, it seemed, that Buffalo laid out to beat New England is you got to pound the ball, control the clock. Gary Barnidge, even though he is a target kind of guy, I just do not see Cleveland being able, especially if they're down, being able to do some dink and dunks to try to get Barnidge involved. It's going to be Pryor, or it might even be Pryor at quarterback running the ball for his life, but I just don't see Barnidge doing anything against New England.
Yeah, for my sits, that's Jason Witten, Jacob Tamme, and Dwayne Allen. If it's not Dwayne Allen playing, I'm not sure if he's hurt or banged up a little bit, because I know that Jack Doyle's getting a lot of touches, so insert Jack Doyle there. I just don't like anybody against that Chicago, the way they're playing defense at this point, and the way also Indianapolis is playing offense. But I'll talk about Tamme playing at Denver. And like I said before, playing at Denver is difficult. Playing the passing game. Their linebackers are really good coverage linebackers. Their safeties are good coverage safeties. They just are difficult to pass against, especially in Denver. And I do not like the tight end Tamme. If anything, if he's able to score, it's only because of a turnover and they get the ball in the red zone and they just happen to be, throw the ball to him in the end zone there where maybe they have a play. But I don't see him as being able to get a lot of yardage, a lot of catches, and things like that. So I just don't like Tamme this week. Who's your sits at defense?
Dallas Cowboys, Carolina Panthers, and the New York Jets. Now, we're going to talk about Panthers because that looks like on paper, especially with them at home, that should be a great defensive play. I just have a bad feeling after what Atlanta did to them that Tampa Bay is going to be studying on it, and they have the healthy quarterback in Winston. They have some pieces there in place. Even though I said sit Evans, I just have a feeling Jackson, everybody else, is going to go ahead and Sims especially is going to expose Carolina. I got a feeling if they don't have Newton, Derek Anderson should do good, but I think it's going to be a shootout. It has the makings of it. I just feel like that's going to happen. I was right about Atlanta. I thought that was going to be a shootout, and it was. I think Carolina's defense is tired, and I just have a feeling that with Newton not playing, this team is just abysmal, and I think Tampa Bay's going to expose that.
And plus, Derek Anderson makes some mistakes. He does well, but then there's those times where he's one of those guys that can give you a good game, but at the end, like he did against Atlanta, throws an interception. It's just like he's one of those type of quarterbacks.
If that's the only defense, you're gonna have to hope. But man, who would have thought that they would get destroyed like that last week? If you played them last week, negative points for sure.
I didn't see that coming. I'll tell you that. So my defensive sits are Green Bay, Indianapolis, and Baltimore. And I'll talk about Green Bay. Like I said before, I think Eli Manning has done well historically against Green Bay in Green Bay. And I like their chances against Green Bay. This is the only time I think we're actually opposites this time. But I don't like Green Bay's defense this week against them, especially with the fact that they are minus a couple people that are injured here and there. But at the same time, the way Eli Manning and them were shut down against Minnesota, I don't see that happening from Green Bay's defense. The only thing I see them stopping is the run, like I said, but I don't think they could stop the pass. And I think Giants are going to actually put some points up along with Green Bay. I think that game is going to be a little bit of a minor shootout as well. So that does it for the Stardom Sit-'em show. Leave your comments in the comment section. And guys, if we left some players out that you might like or whatever, it's not because we don't like them. It's just because we only mentioned 3 per category. That we don't have enough time to create an hour show to be able to talk about 10 to 15 players for every position, position in football. We only have time to talk about 3 guys per show. For each category per show. So that's why we do that. If we left some out, it doesn't mean we don't like them. It doesn't mean that we don't think about them. It doesn't mean that we don't think there's a good play or not, or a sit or not. It's just, we only talk about 3 guys. And we try to not talk about too much of the studs unless we sit them. We talk about, if we mention a stud when we start, it's just because maybe we just feel like it. But all in all, that's kind of how we always done it here. That's how we're going to do it, and that's how we keep doing it. The comment section is the place where you guys ask those questions. Like if we left out a player, ask us in the comment section. One of us or one of our subscribers or somebody else will be able to answer. Hopefully they're nice to you when they answer, or else the comment gets deleted from me, and and so on and so forth. Like I said before, we are a big fantasy football family here. We like to help each other out. It's all for fun. It's all for helping each other and helping each other get some victories and sticking together and just answering each other's questions and helping each other out. That's what fantasy football is about. It's about fun. So with that being said,
and also if you're going to call us out about playing somebody and all that, make sure they're not on the bye week. Somebody mentioned that they should play Wentz this past weekend, and he wasn't even playing. Yeah, and also, how did that Stafford pick go for you there too?
Yeah, that's another thing. Like I said, guys, if you're gonna try to call us out, don't call us out, because there's no use in arguing, because you know what? It's fantasy football. We're wrong, you're wrong. You're going to be wrong. We're going to be wrong. We're just going to go back and forth about how we made a mistake on one pick, 1 week, and whatever. We're not 100% correct. Neither are you. It's not going to happen. It's just a back and forth argument that no one's going to win. So what? Instead of arguing, just make a nice comment in there. Ask us about a player, what we think about them, and just leave your comment or leave. Or if you got something bad to say, just leave. Don't have to say it, because all this is going to do is get deleted. We don't care. And it's not gonna affect us one bit. Like I said, no one is 100% correct in fantasy football. That's why we're all here to help each other, to give insight, so that way we can all build upon each other's things. And I have no problem with anybody else going to somebody else's channel and looking at it and getting other ideas from them. It doesn't matter to me. All that matters is that you guys are happy with the content, and that you guys are happy with what we have to say, and you guys can all interact together with us when we play football, or when we play fantasy football. So with that being said, hope best of luck this week on your fantasy football matchups. And like I said, leave comments in the comment section. And that's it. So for Fantasy Football Fiend, Siggy Guns, JT Magnum, we out. Peace, y'all.
Peace.